Hey guys, and welcome to another Nerdy Reviews. I'm your host Zaku, and today we're going to be reviewing Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack. Now, before I begin with the review itself, let me just give you some few things here. If you haven't already, make sure to follow me on my Twitch account. If you're watching this on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to my channel, and leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this movie, or my opinion about the movie itself. And if you haven't already too, make sure to follow me on my Twitch account or my Twitter account. That's when I go live and I make announcements of when I'm going live with my live stream, so you can catch me live and join me in the chat and talk with me. Anyways, let's get on with the review here. Just to give you some preface here, let's start off with the story like we usually do here. So, for Mobile Suit Gundam, and I'm just going to call it Char's Counterattack, also known in abbreviated form for CCA. So, Char's Counterattack takes place in UC Century 0093. Char Asimov returns to lead Neo Zeon into another war with the Federation in his quest to bring about the evolution of mankind. That's pretty much it. Yes, we get Amuro Ray coming back, and there's a little bit more I want to talk about that too. So it's just some little fun factors here too. So this is the first movie in the Gundam franchise that is not a compilation movie. Because remember, the first compilation movies, which was the original trilogy, it was debuted in 1981 in Japanese theaters. This is the first actual Gundam movie of its own origin to debut in Japanese theaters back in 1988. This is also a movie well known for finalizing and ending the rivalry between Amuro Ray and Char Aznable. I would have said this also is what ends the conflict between Federation versus Zeon, but unfortunately, Unicorn Gundam picks that up, and it still continues to this day between what I like to call mid UC Century time frame, between here and before we hit F91, we still got quite a bit that's coming out here revolving around Neo Zeon versus the Federation. So this is not the end. But at the time of 88, though, being the fourth introduction into the Gundam franchise, this is the this was the ending for the Federation versus Zeon conflict. That being said, the animation in this movie is actually really, really nice. I would akin this one, and if you watch my previous review, to Gundam 0080. The animation's very similar to this one. I would say that this one's actually a lot more sharper colors, more contrasty looking. This poster doesn't do it justice because this is more like washed out kind of colors, more lighter. Just imagine the more darker. The inking's a little bit more defined, I believe, from what I remember of watching it here. And it's really more pronounced. That too, it's very reminiscent of, again, that 80s merging into the 90s animation. That being said too, it is actually set up more like an 80s style action movie. Much of the story and plot line is provided you in the first, I want to say 30 to 40 minutes. Not even, 30 minutes or so. It kind of is slow. We get a little bit of action in the beginning just to whet your appetite, right? Just to keep you interested still. But most of the plot is delivered right here. After that plot is delivered, or a storyline, we are now given our overall, which dives into an action movie. It's a roller coaster, as what I like to put it. We got our nice little ramp up toward from the first and second act. Third act occurs, and boom, we are dropped down into some awesome twists and turns and fun things about it. So when it comes to the action in this movie, I keep saying series, this movie, the mecha fighting is incredibly intense and fast paced. For this time frame, this is probably the most impressive mecha fighting in the Gundam franchise. I still say to this day, this is really entertaining stuff, though. A lot of the fights between the suits is hard hitting, fast, and incredibly intense. Unsure what's really gonna happen or the chain of reactions within the fights themselves. It's exciting stuff. It was really fun to watch. I'm not gonna lie. Definitely blows any of the series stuff up to this point out of the water. The next thing I want to talk about with Char's Counterattack, there's a lot of smaller references. The one thing I really appreciate within some, like with a not newer, but like Gundam series that are higher in the echelons of the time frame, right, is referring back to previous series or making reference or indications towards previous stuff in the series. So the biggest thing I liked about it too was there was a conversation that Char had with Nanai right here, and they were drinking, and he was holding his drink and stuff like that. And they were talking about the events that are coming forth, and they were talking about like kind of like human sacrifice, and that scene, like, it's kind of funny. There's a meme gif I had, I can't find it at the moment here, but there was a conversation that Amuro and Char had after the if I remember right, it's not the Dakar speech, it's something beforehand. And Char and Amuro were talking about people making sacrifices, and then Char makes a reference like, "So when so am I supposed to be a sacrifice?" And they talk about like, "Hey, sometimes we need to make the sacrifices for the greater good, or like for the objective of what we're trying to do." And then it's kind of funny because Char would look at the glass like that, and it's like, "Wow, that's such a poignant moment." It's so subtle, but you wouldn't really catch it unless you like tie that back to the series, to Zeta Gundam itself. There's a lot of little knockbacks, a lot of referencing back to like either Zeta or the original Mobile Suit Gundam. Of course, like the whole Char, Amuro, and Lala thing is the most prevalent one in the entire movie itself. But there's other moments and portions too that were featured, like from Zeta Gundam, for an example. I think that's really, really awesome. Speaking of that too, we get a lot of characters too that return into the movie. One thing I was really, really excited for was seeing like somebody as simple as Assange in the series, or in the movie. Sorry. Like, to me, like, even though he was like he was like a side character on the Argama, we've seen Assange from Zeta and Double Zeta Gundam. So it's like, wow, he's here again too. Like, that's awesome. Of course, we got Bright. We get appearances from Mirai with her kids. Not our first time introduction to them. We've seen them back in Zeta Gundam, but they're now grown up with Shaman and Hathaway. Yeah. Of course, we're going to get a little bit more about him coming out with the movie as well. But I just want to say, like, it's nice to see a lot of familiar faces from the original series, Zeta Gundam, and now coming into Char's Counterattack. Speaking of which, too, Tomino takes up his title again and not quite kills them all, but we get a lot of deaths in this movie, too. So it's a little bit of a... it's a little bit of a shocker at times. I think some of the deaths that shocked me were two of them shocked me. One was very, very frustrating. I'm not going to talk about it necessarily for spoiler's sake, but it hints with another character. Another one is just like it just came out of nowhere, just because I like this character for what they were, basically. Not to say a whole lot. I don't want to spoil it too much. But yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot I want to say too much about the movie without spoiling it too much. But it does a really good job of pacing the action amongst the somewhat action in the first portions, and then throughout, just solid action building alongside with not the evolving, but the revolving plot line, basically. And this is, of course, Char trying to drop Axis onto Earth. I thought that was just magnificent. We get the philosophical ideologies between Char and Amuro, which is the entire movie that encompasses itself into, alongside with other characters that are mixed into this. So I want to kind of jump into not even really much of a segment, but it's very small to talk about, which is Gundam characters I absolutely hate. It's funny because when I watched Char's Counterattack, I watched it amongst a lot of shows that came out on. Oops, let me pop us back over here. There's a lot of things that I saw in back that time frame during Toonami. You know, like 8th MS Team, Gundam 0080, Gundam 0083, G Gundam, and stuff like that. And then when they pulled Char's Counterattack for one of the night ones. I think it was during Adult Swim or so, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it was the late night run for Toonami. Midnight run. I haven't had a serious character that I absolutely hated in the Gundam franchise until this movie. This movie was the first time I came across a character I absolutely hate in the Gundam franchise. I don't, again, use hate in a light terms. I absolutely hate this character. And lo and behold, this character is on the cover here. Let me zoom in for you. There she is. Her last name also fits it too. I absolutely hate Quest Pariah. She's my number one first time, all time hated character in the Gundam franchise. Again, it goes alongside with a lot of things I don't like about, like, with these kind of characters. It's a character that gets themselves into so much trouble that endangers the lives of other characters, in addition to doing a lot of stupid things that would get anybody else killed, but they're having plot armor, alongside with just being a Mary Sue. Hathaway, for some odd reason, is enamored with this girl. Char has a very creepy affection towards her. We don't see him, but Guinea, and it's kind of funny. Like, I never really thought too much of Guinea, but now that I watch it as of like recent, I've seen Char's Counterattack maybe like 6 or 7 times. This being my 6th or 7th time now. It's funny. Let me see if there's a picture of Guinea. I'm pretty sure there was a picture of Guinea here. Nope, I don't have a picture of Guinea here. But Guinea comes off as a super creeper with Quest. So it's like, it drove me nuts that she does all these stupid things that a lot of people go like, get out of here. And people are just enamored with her. It just drove me nuts. Oh, also, like, a lot of her behaviors. Now, I think as of rewatching it now, kind of like following along with this timeline now, her mannerisms and behaviors are a little bit more acceptable. And that's a little bit strange coming from me saying that. I say this because a lot of her attitudes and mannerisms, if you just watch the movie by itself and not having any context of anything else, she would come off exactly like that. You would hate her too. But after watching Zeta Gundam and Double Zeta Gundam, her attitudes and mannerisms kind of make sense. Same thing with Guinea as well. And that's just more or less just because she's kind of being groomed almost like a cyber new type, alongside with Guinea. And what we already know about cyber new types is that their mental instability, because of them being mentally and somewhat physically enhanced to pilot new type-esque mobile suits and new type technology. So I could see, like, a lot of her brash, childish mannerisms being even grossly more exaggerated because now she's piloting suits like the Yak Doga and then the Alpha Zero, if I'm saying it correctly here. I can never pronounce that mobile armor's name. So, I mean, like, yeah, she is incredibly annoying. I still hate her, but I think the hatred's far a lot less for her, because now I have a little bit more of an understanding and more of an, not appreciation, but more of an understanding about cyber new types. In the past, I mean, I've watched these series out of sequential order, right? So I would have vague memory about this. And that's why I appreciate what I'm doing right now, going through the entire Gundam franchise in the timeline that it's told, not how they were released. Then I have more of a context of like, hey, are they really following along with what's going on in the stories and stuff like that? Or are they just trying to create their own thing? And so far, a lot of the creators, I mean, this is the director, Tomino directed this himself as well. So again, we're following with actual consistency about these characters. And Quest is actually really, really consistent with being a cyber new type. Although she's not truly a cyber new type, she's just a new type being enhanced. And being enhanced, you end up becoming a cyber new type. So, yeah, that makes more explanations towards her. Doesn't excuse her. It's like being drunk almost. Doesn't excuse you from doing stupid things, but it's a little bit more understandable, you know? I do want to say, though, like, Guinea and Hathaway do reach my tier of hatred, too, but Guinea doesn't really get much love, and I'm not going to say anything else beyond that one, because that's spoilers, and same thing with Hathaway. It's kind of weird, because Bray in the previous series in Zeta and ZZ Gundam show that he kind of misses his family, but he's very alienated because he's in the military, so he's constantly serving, right? But when his son shows up, he's actually pretty cold towards his son. I mean, he does have some affection towards him, but he's very cold towards him. So I can kind of get the mannerisms and the attitudes that Hathaway kind of has, but doesn't excuse his action for killing one of the characters that I was kind of talking about too, where it was more of a surprise and it pissed me off. Yeah, Hathaway it was crawling up to that tier of I hate you. Same thing with Guinea, but Guinea, he's a true cyber new type, so he was a little bit messed up in the head already, and his infatuation with Quest comes into play trying to like undermine Char at times. So it is what it is. I would need more from Guinea, but we have so much screen time of Quest and how much of a garbage character she is. I feel like it's my hatred's justified, especially the action she does. Outside that one, I want to move on to our next segment because again, there's not a whole lot I want to talk about this movie. It's only a 2-hour long movie, so I think I've got across most of what I want to say about what makes it, good. There's not a whole lot of bad things about it. I feel like everything was well paced, well told, hitting a lot of the philosophies of Gundam, and what really encapsulates between these two characters is phenomenal. I do want to say though that the conclusion between those two, I still feel like there's still lacking in it. It's not a true conclusion between their two feelings, but the rivalry definitely comes to a conclusion. Personally, and you know what I want to ask you before I jump into my favorite mobile suit segment here is that leave a comment down below. I want to hear from you guys, seriously, and if anybody's still in the live stream too, I want to hear from you guys too. If you've already watched this movie, who do you think was right? The movie brings in the concept and the philosophy between Char and Amuro. So I'm going to start out with Char because he's the reason why he instigates everything else. After the 1-year war, we got the Titans, which led to the Grips conflict. With the Grips conflict led towards Neo Zeon doing what they did in ZZ Gundam and the Neo Zeon Civil War. Char believes that because we are pulled down by Earth's gravity, we are not truly allowing ourselves to escape its gravity and evolve as new types. It's almost akin to like a forced evolution is what he's trying to do, and it makes sense. All this hatred stems from the unknown and also about space colonists. So he wanted to use access to pollute the Earth to a point where it's uninhabitable and getting people to vacate it, either die along with it or vacate the Earth and join the space colonists. Amuro believes now Char's more of a pessimistic look, right? Amuro believes that we should not make that kind of a decision, that we should allow ourselves to evolve naturally and take our time. Again, going right back, this is why I say like it kind of goes slight back and forth, going back to the original argument about nature versus nurture for new types. Char representing the nurture type and Amuro representing the nature type. Amuro believes that we should naturally allow new types to come about and allow the evolution to come more naturally. Trying to force it will create more complications and issues. Amuro looks at it more as a more optimistic, hopeful look, and Char looks at more of a pessimistic and, dare I say it, bleaker aspect. I want you to tell me in the comments down below, or in the live stream too, who do you think was right? Was Amuro right about humanity should take its time to evolve? Or should Char? Was Char right that we needed to force the evolution because humanity would never evolve on its own? Who do you think is right? I'm going to tell you what I think, so you guys can get my opinion on this. Obviously, if you guys have any inclination, I'm Xeon all the way. I'm pro Xeon because it's representation of freedom. But Char makes a incredibly outstanding, valid point at this point of the Gundam franchise, and I can argue post this movie his point. Again, The 1-year war stemmed because of the Federation's denial of freedom for space noids, for the space colonies, overtaxing them, overburdening them, treating them like second-class humans, basically. And that even became more prevalent when it came to new types, and then they were treating new types more like weapons and tools rather than people. We saw that more prominently after the 1-year war during Zeta Gundam, where we now see them creating cyber new types and abusing that with Rosamia, with 4. Yes, Neo Zeon is guilty of this too by doing that to excuse me. They did that with Peru, or LPO Peru, in ZZ and Double Zeta Gundam. But still, what we saw is that we are not acknowledging the changes that we are as human beings, and we're not allowing the freedoms that are granted initially towards us. Char makes the argument that even more so with the whole our that we are way down by the gravity of Earth, right? We see a lot of Earth elitists, especially like in Double Zeta Gundam. There was an episode where the Earth elitists just sit around, eat, and laugh while people are dying out in space or on Earth. And they don't care who died. And we see these people don't care about, in general, about what's going on with the people or anything like that. We have the government officials denying or outright abusing new types. Char's belief is that if we can get everyone to go up to space and allow us to evolve into space and take us away from Earth's gravitational pull on our souls are no longer way down by Earth, and allow us to evolve, we can all grow together and become more of a unified evolution, rather than having those that are in space evolving into new types and those who are still on Earth never evolving. And that could create more future conflicts. Char, in my opinion, Char was right, because what we know... So at that point in time, it's questionable. Amuro makes a valid point. He's like, well, but you don't know. You don't know the future. You don't know where we can go in the direction that we're going. You know what? Well, that where people can make that argument is just fine. I can completely understand it. This is where I come into play and go like, well, we look at the Gundam history timeline. You are so wrong if you argue with Amuro, or if you argue on Amuro's side. After Char's counterattack, we have F91. We now have still a continuous conflict between a crippled Earth Federation against Cosmo Babylonia. I'm not even going to take it as far as utilizing Unicorn Gundam, but I could even utilize Unicorn Gundam. We're still having a conflict between the Earth Federation never acknowledging the freedom of the space noids or space colonists, and Neo Zeon still fighting for that ideological freedom from them, that liberation. Additionally, too, we can even go furthermore into the future, and we can still see that there's a conflict in V Gundam regarding the whole situation between the Zanskar Empire and the even further, and I'm surprised it's still alive, Earth Federation. Because we never allowed ourselves to excel and move onward and actually progress with our evolution, and we are allowing to dig our feet into the earth and allow our souls to be weighed down by our stubbornness too. We don't allow ourselves to grow. Sure, Amuro's argument would be like, well, eventually we're going to learn to let go and then evolve. But that falls flat on its face after knowing the conflicts that still continue, and that still revolves around new types. So I don't agree with Amuro at all. I believe Char is absolutely right and vindicated in his actions. But that's my thoughts on Char's counterattack and the opposing philosophies between Amuro and Char. What do you think? Leave me a comment down below. Comment in the live stream here. Anyways, let's go ahead and continue here. I do want to talk about suits again. Now, Char's counterattack, so again, with this segment here, is my favorite suits of this series. Every series or movie introduces a brand new slew of suits, designs, mobile armors, that sort of thing. Sorry about that. So what we have here is like, it's not a whole lot. Actually, like this is all the suits that are in the series. We got a couple of reappearing ones, but a lot of new ones. First thing I want to mention though is I actually do like some of the Federation suit designs. The Jigans or Jagans, I'm not sure how you want to pronounce it. I call it Jigan though. They look really cool looking. I like, maybe because I don't like sharper stuff, but I like all of these smooth edges, rounded off. The helmet or the headpiece looks really, really cool looking. Not this like lame little visor thing. It actually has like a nice little design to it. So I really, really like the Jigen look. I can't not talk about transformable mobile suits because I love transformable mobile suits. Although the Regazé is not a true transformer because it does require like this additional piece to fly. It does transform by itself though, and it is the successor to the Zeta Gundam. So shout out to that. Unfortunately, the suit does not get well used, but hey, it's still there. Like it by its design. Of course, I can't talk about things that don't look like Zaku's because, yeah, Gyaradogas, I really love their design. If you remember when I was talking about in ZZ Gundam how I don't like the look of the Zaku 3, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you took away the head of the Gyaradoga, the body still looks like a Zaku. Very reminiscent of a Zaku, right? If you took the head off of a Zaku 3, it doesn't look like a Zaku 3, it looks like a Zaku. It looks like some random other suit. Let's see. This one looks probably a little more refined. Yeah, look at that. It looks so much more refiner, meaner. It's got the little, because in the Unicorn Gundam, the Neo Zeon called sleeves. So you got the little cuffs right there, little sleeves. It's such a cool design. I don't like it later on. We'll get to another type when we get to Unicorn eventually, but they'll have like a little bit of a longer snout. More like a gas mask on them. But Gyaradogas, they look nice. I don't care for the Yakdoga design. It's okay. You're going to see that I don't really even have it up here. I think. Oh, yeah, I do have it right here. Yakdoga. It looks like a jester almost because it's got these like clown-esque shoes. Very, very like poofy kind of things going on for like kind of poofy. I didn't care for the design. It's cool with the funnels, though. I like that. That's about it, though. But if we're going to talk about favorite suits, I mean, Char's Counterattack is known for two particular ones besides some suits. I can't not talk about it without mentioning about the Zazabi. This picture doesn't do it justice. It's actually a really cool suit. Unfortunately, we don't see it do too much fighting, but it is a really, really awesome looking suit. It's beam shotgun, the funnels on its back, the mega particle cannon that it has on the mid-torso, and still utilizing a little bit of the Rick Diaz cockpit design in the head. I think it's a pretty cool suit. Really, really nice. But Char's Counterattack is one of my favorite designs here, period, because it introduced me to one of my favorite Gundams of all time. I don't know what to say, then I'll just pull it out. It's the new Gundam. Yeah, it looks boring like this, right? But let's equip it with its funnels. And, I mean, it kind of has that funny little A for Amuro, right? But I love the design for the new Gundam. Very reminiscent of the original Gundam, with some newer designs, like extended shoulders, the feet, the chest, torso. Looks almost akin to the Mark II a little bit. I just love the design of the new Gundam. Its utilization of the funnels too. Sadly enough, though, this is not actually the full design of it. Let me see if we can even get to it. Nope, no, we don't. We are not going to ever get that full design. But the full design of it, and not really, it's the more of the upgrade. It's MSV, I believe, still is the High New Gundam, which is my absolute all-time favorite Gundam as of today. I don't believe we're ever going to see the new Gundam in the in any series right now. I mean, I don't know how else to put it, but it's a really, really cool suit design. Let me see if I can just pull it up real quick for you guys. High New. This is the version Kai. I think that's good. Oh no. Oh, well, that's fine because that's it. This is the High New Gundam. So it's basically the new Gundam, but like it's fully designed outwards. Its funnel system looks like wings. It's such a cool design. I really love the High New Gundam. The color choices for it too. It is easily probably my most favorite design of all the Gundams, just because of how it's got simplicity, elegance, and utilization behind it. Unfortunately, we will never see this suit fully put out there. The remainder portion of my favorite suits, I did kind of spoil it a little bit here, but honorable mention to the Hobby Hyzak. I remember when I watched this movie the first time around, when I saw this suit, I don't know why, even though it's just the Hyzak with a different color scheme, the color scheme for the Hyzak just looks really, really cool. I liked it a lot. It stuck out with me. I actually have a small little gotcha figurine. I can't remember. I used to use it for Dungeons and Dragons, but it was my little it's my little character. It's like a little cool gotcha figurine from Japan. It was so cool. I love it. It's just something about these colors. I don't know why it stood out for me. But yeah, that's all I have to say about the suits in this series here. Overall, I like a lot of the suit designs, with some of them being really, really out there. So let me just jump into our next little segment here too, is that if you are new to Gundam, should I watch this first? This was a hard one for me to say, and in all honesty, as much as I want to say yes, no, don't start off with Char's Counterattack as your first Gundam foray into the franchise. It is an excellent entry into the Gundam series, like excellent movie in the Gundam franchise, right? But it is not a good entry for newcomers. I say this because most of this movie delves into the conflict between Char and Amuro, and not having a full understanding between it from the original Mobile Suit Gundam to their allied ship in Zeta Gundam, and then the change and swap back in this movie wouldn't make a whole lot of sense. Also, that there's also a lot of mentions of previous landmarks and important places in the Universal Century. At this point, a lot of it's not going to make sense to newcomers or be of any importance. Why is Axis any important? Oh, it wasn't the original stronghold base for two forces of the Zeon and then used to destroy, another base or whatnot. There's not no of importance or whatnot, or why it's being used in this movie at all. No importance between Sweetwater or the character of Cameron, or a lot of reoccurring characters from previous series into this movie. So, and with some of those characters' deaths too. I don't think a newcomer would get true appreciation from it. You will get a good sense of what Gundam is watching the movie, but I don't think you're going to truly appreciate the movie. Like myself, when I watched this, I had only watched the original Mobile Suit Gundam and a bunch of other Gundam series that didn't really play pertinent to this one because they all came up after Char's Counterattack. So I only knew the conflict between Char and Amuro. But what I didn't know at the time too was that I never watched Zeta Gundam until many years later, and their allied ship and some of the dialogue that they had in Zeta Gundam was actually pertinent in Char's Counterattack itself, even reference back too. So I think that's kind of important stuff right there. You get a whole lot more from it other than it just being an action movie, So definitely not a good first start, but I would still say, once you watch, a couple of the original, not original, but the previous Gundam timeline stuff, check it out. It's good. That being said, so as of the overall for Char's Counterattack, I don't know how much else I can put it. This is the fourth entry into the Gundam franchise, the first movie of its own kind, debuted in the theaters. Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack really encapsulates everything of the previous three series into this movie, encapsulating a lot of ideologies and philosophies, while really putting it down to some really incredibly intense mecha action and fighting. Everything comes to an amazing crescendo at the very end, and it sets a gold standard for a lot of things to come in the future, and even for the past too, in rewatchings. Definitely is a great watch. I don't know what else to say beyond that one, but Mobile Suit Gundam, Char's Counterattack gets a solid 4 out of 5. Definitely was an entertaining movie. Great reintroduction to a lot of things throughout the other previous series, so pays a lot of homage and respect to them, while introducing some new concepts and resolving concepts too. Definitely is going to be one of those high top tier movies I would recommend you to watch. Definitely. Alright, and if you haven't already, make sure to follow me on my Twitch channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, leave a like this video, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment down below. Of course, let me know what you guys think about the movie. What do you thought about my opinions? Do you disagree with me agreeing with Char? Or what's your stance on the whole concept between Char and Amuro's philosophies about new types in mankind? What do you think was the right thing to do? Leave a comment. I want to hear from you guys. Also, follow me on my Twitch account, or my Twitter account. On my Twitter account, I post whenever I go live, alongside a few other random things here and there. So, yeah. Well, I hope you guys did enjoy that review. And until the next one, see you next time. Take care.